the Ball Oasis show, eighth or ninth episode at this point. I feel like we've come on and said this every week for the past like 2 or 3 weeks. Another slow news week.
Yeah.
Things seem to be at a stalemate with every single rumor that we've been hearing. There's been no real new buzz that's been going on the past few weeks. It's been kind of dead. And we come on the show and say it over and over again. Jacob, have you heard anything that maybe the people who have been casually keeping up with the offseason haven't heard that you like to bring up?
Not at all. Bunch of mock trades going on that I know of.
That's not real. None of that is even real.
No.
Yeah. It's so dead right now. So the segment that we have planned for today, I wanted to hold this off for a few more weeks. I was hoping that the offseason would give us more content to talk about. But that just hasn't happened. So we're going to go ahead and start our player tiers. This is something that we've been wanting to do for a while. It's taken a lot of preparation. It will be based off the past season, at least mine are. I figure most of Jacob's will be too.
Yeah, most for the most
part. We'll start with the point guards. We'll go by position, and I know that I gave my whole spiel about positionless basketball, but this is taken off of an Instagram account called NBA In Depth. They did this position player tiers concept, and so we're going to kind of piggyback off that and do our own. Starting with the point guards today, and so. Some people that they have listed as point guards may not be point guards in your eyes, and that's okay. They probably ran some too, but I think that what the account went off of was based off of how much they ran the one position the previous season. So next year they might not run as much one, but this past season maybe they ran more one than they did two. Yeah. That's what it's based off of, I believe. We're excited to get into this today. This is part 1 of a 5-part series. There are 6 tiers. We have the fringe starters, the average starters, quality starters, all-star caliber players, all NBA quality players, and then the superstars, the best of the best. We held it to only starters, only starter level point guards. So there will only be about 30 or so who are eligible to be picked for these tiers. We have different tiers, so we'll have we'll give our cases for why we think these players should be in the tiers that we have them in. It should be a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and get right into it, Jacob. Anything you want to lead with before we start?
No, I think you covered everything with that.
Yep.
Ready?
You want to start with your tier 6, the fringe starters first.
Fringe starters. Okay. So my tier 6. It's in no particular order. Just kind of grouped them together. I went with, just go ahead and say them all out now, or?
Yeah, just give everybody who's in the tier, and then I'll give everybody who's in the tier, and then we can talk about why we have them there.
Okay. I have Reggie Jackson, Tyus Jones, Cole Anthony, Derrick Rose, Monte Morris, and Patrick Beverley is my tier 6.
My tier is pretty much the same, except I had one guy who you didn't have. I have Cole Anthony, I have Tyus Jones, I have Derrick Rose, I have Patrick Beverley, I have Monte Morris, but I have Kyle Lowry in this tier.
I was close.
I have Kyle Lowry in this tier. Let me go ahead and say why I have Kyle Lowry in this tier. Ever since the finals run, Kyle Lowry hasn't been that great. He's aging. He's like 36, 37 years old at this point.
Right.
On the Miami Heat, you just look back at the playoff run that they had. He wasn't giving them much at all. He was kind of a negative asset when he was on the floor outside of a game or two, maybe in that Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know. I think it's about up for Kyle Lowry, though. He might have 1 or 2 more years where he could be a positive asset on a contending team. But I think he's a fringe starter at this point. I mean, they had Gabe Vincent starting over him in some playoff games. So I think that's all that needs to be said for my case why Kyle Lowry is a fringe starter.
Yeah, I had him like right at the borderline of the average starter, like right there. Like he could have went either way.
It's tough because I mean he's been an all-star player, but let's be real. He hasn't been great this past season or two. I mean he's been hurt a lot, but I think that's part of him aging. He's gained some weight. maybe it's about up. Maybe it's about up for Kyle Lowry. But I had him in the fringe starters. Jacob, why did you have Reggie Jackson as a fringe starter? Explain to me that.
So I think he played good last year, but now John Wall's there. But
Okay.
really, on any other team, you can make an argument for a starter. I know years past he's been really good, but I think he's like another player. He's just right there. Like he's at the top of the fringe starters for me. Like he's just right there.
Okay.
But just from watching him last year, I just think he still can start, but he's just like at that level where it could be either way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Two players that I debated having in a tier higher than this were Patrick Beverley and Monte Morris. All the rest of the players, Cole Anthony, Tyus Jones, Derrick Rose, and Kyle Lowry, I was pretty set on at tier 6. But
Okay.
Patrick Beverley and Monte Morris, just because they've been kind of staples of playoff teams for a while, and they provide a specific thing to their teams. Patrick Beverley, we know the grit, the defense, the attitude. So that alone kind of made me want to put him as an average starter, but it was just everything else that kind of knocked him down to the fringe starter level for me. And Monte Morris, it'll be interesting to see how he plays in Washington. I feel like not a lot of people will be watching that just because the Wizards will probably suck. But yeah, I think Monte Morris has a chance to really blossom this year. He's in a contract year too, by the way, so he'll be playing for some money. So I feel like we may see a boost in his production.
Yeah, Beverly he was the same way. The energy's up there. He could be a starter, but the numbers just wasn't there. But he's always a big part of a playoff team, though. I agree with that.
Right, he's never missed the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah, that's tier 6. We'll go ahead and knock those guys out of the way. On to tier 5, the average starters. I'll go first for this one, Jacob. So I have five players in this tier. Starting with Mike Conley, I have Reggie Jackson in this tier. I have Russell Westbrook here, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Lonzo Ball.
Really?
You may say that may be kind of harsh to some of these players, guys like Mike Conley and Spencer Dinwiddie, who can give you 30 points a game, not a game, but a night if they have to, when other players may be shooting poorly or whatever. And the reason why I have these guys on this tier is because though some of them, their offense may be great, but their defense is lacking, or their defense may be great and their offense is lacking. And I don't think that either is enough to just completely outweigh the other to put them as a quality starter. These are guys capable of good production, but a lot of these guys are older, dealt with injuries, or their roles have lessened than they have been in the past. So I see these guys as average starters right now. Jacob, give us your tier 5. I hope we have some different players for this tier.
It was close to the same. Had Lonzo Ball, D'Angelo Russell, Spencer Dinwiddie, Kyle Lowry, and Mike Conley.
Okay.
So
it's about the same, really.
That's the same, yeah.
Can you explain why you have Russell Westbrook at tier 5? Explain that.
He's not in my tier 5. I don't think. Did I say Russ?
Oh, I thought you did. My bad. If you didn't.
I think I said Lonzo, D'Angelo Russell, Spencer Dinwiddie.
Oh, you have D'Angelo Russell here. Okay. Why do you have D'Angelo Russell tier 5?
He hadn't fell off completely yet, but he's not like he was in Brooklyn.
Right.
So that was a big part of it, and I've always loved watching him play. But it might be because he's diverted to the third option.
Okay.
So I guess that step down did it for me. Kind of.
Does that make him an average starter to you?
Not.
Or does that just make the Timberwolves seem good? Answer honestly.
What'd you say you cut out?
Oh, I said, does D'Angelo Russell being the third or fourth option, does that make him an average starter to you, or does that just make the Timberwolves seem good? Answer honestly.
It makes him good, but I want to say, I don't know. It might have just been watching the playoffs closely. I wish he played better. I say you can move him to quality starter. He's like another one of the players I got this either one. Like you could flip flop him, but right now it's kind of average, borderline top average, I guess.
I'll go ahead and admit I played with that idea too. I played with the idea of having D'Angelo Russell at tier 5. I did.
Right.
I ultimately decided that he hadn't fallen off far enough to put him that far down. But he is on a negative trajectory. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
he's not really aging, but just the emergence of Karl-Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. Really, maybe a change of scenery would be good for D'Angelo Russell to kind of vault himself back up to all-star caliber play. But only time will tell with that. Yeah, tier 5. We had a lot of the same ones. Tier 4 is the most populated tier for me. Jacob, is it the most populated for you too? I figure it might be.
Cool. Honestly, it should be, but it's not.
It's not. Wow.
I think All-Star is.
There are a lot of all-stars at point guard.
But, well, I think if we base it off last year, but this upcoming year could be a lot of good years too. It just depends. I could have moved a lot of them down though, I will say.
Yeah. Well, all right. Give us your quality starters. Who are your quality starters going into next season?
So I have Russell Westbrook, Cade Cunningham, Marcus Smart, Malcolm Brogdon, Tyrese Halliburton, Tyrese Maxey, Anthony Simons, and Jalen Brunson. So I kind of do have a lot though.
I want to bring something up before you say anything.
Okay.
We had a conversation off camera about a week ago. You said to me that Tyrese Maxey could potentially have an all-star level jump this next season.
I still believe that, but I based it off last year.
Have you been talked down from all-star level, or are you still on that train?
I'm still on that train. I still believe he can be an all-star, but from last season, he has to make that jump this year to be all-star. Now, if we do this next off season or later in the year, he'll move up. But just off of last year, I think he could be one this year. I believe he'll take that job.
Okay.
Might just be homer take, but I honestly believe he will.
That's rational. You had say your players in this tier again, just so you can remind me and the people.
Russell Westbrook, Cade Cunningham, Marcus Smart, Malcolm Brogdon, Tyrese Halliburton, Tyrese Maxey, Anthony Simons, and Jalen Brunson.
Okay. Russell Westbrook. I want to bring up Russell Westbrook. You have him in tier 4. What makes him still a quality starter after having a not so great year last year?
He didn't have a great year, but I still think his numbers were there. I mean, I know you can't base everything off the numbers, but I think he still averaged, I think 18, 7 and 7, maybe around that range.
Counting stats are still good for Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, so around that range. It might just be the fit with LA. I really don't know. I'm hoping he has a bounce back year, but because I did kind of talk bad about him last year a few times, but I really do hope he bounces back this year. Whether it be go back to the 23, 24 points, but like I said, I don't know. It's just that fit. I don't know how it fits well with LeBron and AD.
Yeah. The Russell Westbrook fan in me wanted to put him tier 4. I couldn't bring myself to do it based off everybody else who's on this tier that I have. So at tier 4 for me, I have D'Angelo Russell, I have Marcus Smart, I have Malcolm Brogdon, I have Anthony Simons, I have Tyrese Halliburton, I have Jalen Brunson, I have Tyrese Maxey, I have De'Aaron Fox, and I have Jamal Murray.
Really?
And that's my tier 4. And you may be saying that there might be a player missing from your tier 4 that Jacob had on his tier 4. I think Cade Cunningham will be an all-star next season. I do. I think Cade Cunningham will be an all-star with Detroit next season. I think he'll sit around 28 and 8. I think his efficiency will be better. And I think the Pistons will just be better in general. I think that he'll get a hype train, especially being a second-year player, former number 1 overall pick. So I think Cade Cunningham is on that all-star caliber level player already going into year 2. Jamal Murray is on this tier for me. I just don't know what to expect. I don't know what to
Right.
expect from
Right.
Jamal Murray. I think that's why I have him here.
That's what I'm
Um,
saying.
with the West being loaded at guard too, it's kind of hard to put him as an all-star caliber player, especially when I think he'll only average like 18, 19 points a game, maybe give you like 5, 6 assists. Um, he won't have to do anything super special though because he has a transcendent player on his team in Nikola Jokic. He's got new pieces around him with Kentavious Caldwell Pope and Bruce Brown. So that team is so well rounded that Jamal Murray has some weight lifted off of his shoulders that he can kind of ease his way back
Back it.
into
Yeah.
his groove or whatever. So I don't think that he will be an all-star caliber player next season, but I still do think he will be a quality starter.
Okay. Yeah, I got him the All Star tier, but he's kind of lower. Like you said, you don't know what to expect when he comes back. But I still think he could play at that level, that high level.
Yeah.
It's just off the
Um,
injury. You never know.
yeah. De'Aaron Fox is here too. De'Aaron Fox is another guy that I wanted to talk about. Um, De'Aaron Fox has got some hype going into the next season. There is a De'Aaron Fox hype train. After the trade for Domantas Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox played well. Um, De'Aaron Fox has been surrounded by horrible floor spacers for the entirety of his career. I think that I heard a stat that the Kings were in the 7th percentile in floor spacing over the past like 2 or 3 seasons, which is easily the worst in the NBA. And with De'Aaron Fox being a not great shooter as he is, um, that doesn't bode well for his success. So we saw his efficiency take a dip. We saw his overall counting stats take a dip last year. Um, but with the additions of guys like Kevin Huerter and a rookie in Keegan Murray who can stretch the floor, um, I think that they could really help De'Aaron Fox's production come along too. So I flirted with having him as an all-star caliber player, but
Hmm.
I'm gonna keep him. I'm gonna keep him as a quality starter for now.
Yeah, I really hope he dips the All Star soon. I like him. I like watching him from the watch. It's just the Kings. I don't. It's just the Kings, I guess.
There's some hype going around the Kings going into this next season. They're a play-in team in a lot of people's eyes.
I don't think they're going to be the bottom. Well, they'll be towards the bottom. I don't think they're going to be 15 seed or 15th ranking,
They
whatever.
shouldn't be.
I don't think they will.
Yeah. Are there any players on tier 4 that you want to talk about, Jacob?
Um, well, since you want to do the Cade Cunningham that jump, mm, I guess we already said it. Tyrese Maxey. I really debated putting him All Star, but I think we talked about this off camera too. The East guards are stacked as well,
Right.
so it's injuries always happen, but I don't know. It just depends on what jump he does. Now, if we're like maybe the 1 seed and he goes up another, I think he averaged 17. If he goes up to like 23, 24, I could see it, but it really just the guards are stacked in both conferences. So
Right. Um, that's the biggest reason why this tier is so populated for me.
yeah,
There's just guards better. There are guards who are better. And guards who have been all stars before, guards who we've seen be all stars over the past 2 or 3 years. So moving into tier 3, the all-star caliber players.
this one was hard for me. It was
Is this gonna be a hot button tier? Is this gonna be the tier that kind of where we differentiate? I hope it is. I
uh,
have let me tell you who I have. I have Cade Cunningham.
okay.
I have Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I have Fred VanVleet. I have DeJounte Murray. I have Drew Holiday. I have Darius Garland. I have LaMelo Ball. And last but not least, I have Chris Paul on this tier. I have Chris Paul on this tier, and it's kind of like the Kyle Lowry thing. Of course, he's been a
Hmm.
better player than Kyle Lowry has been over the past few seasons, but he's aging. He's getting older, and there are limits to what Chris Paul can do. If Chris Paul can't get to his spots on the floor, he's super,
I
super
understand.
limited. And I
Yeah.
love the guy. He's one of my favorite players of all time. He's one of my favorite point guards of all time. But with him being 38, 39 years old, pushing that age, um, he's limited. That's really all I can say. So I don't think he's an all NBA caliber player at this point. Maybe a third team based on the success of the Phoenix Suns, with them being a consensus 1, 2, 3 seed. Um, but he's not an all NBA caliber player to me.
I think he's got one more.
It's painful to say, but I think we're past that point.
I think he's got one more. One, maybe
more?
two. One, maybe
I hope so.
two.
I really do hope so.
That's I had him in the All NBA. I really
Give us
think.
your All Stars.
Okay, my All Stars. Shea, SGA, Darius Garland, Jamal Murray, Drew Holiday, Fred VanVleet, DeJounte Murray, LaMelo Ball, and De'Aaron Fox. So, close, basically the same on those few players.
Did you say Darius Garland?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, just making sure. Interesting.
Now I'm not gonna lie to you. I was close with him. I think not All NBA yet, but depending on how this year goes and how Cleveland plays, it could happen. Maybe third, but I like the improvement I saw last year with him.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. He was towards the top of my All-Star caliber tier.
Yeah.
I flirted with even putting him above Chris Paul. And just a disclaimer, by the way, some of these players are ranked in our minds. Some players are ranked higher than others on these tiers. We did tier lists for a reason instead of rankings, just to kind of ease tensions, I guess.
Yeah, it could be a lot of debate and everything.
Once we get towards the top, I tended not to rank players, but I did seriously consider putting Darius Garland over Chris Paul whenever I did this. So I just wanted to bring that up. Who else is on this tier who you want to talk about?
I think there was.
I could see a guy like Fred VanVleet going back down to a quality starter, maybe.
I really could. I watched him last year some. I didn't see the hype of him until I think he came back from injury, like at the beginning of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And then watching them, Philadelphia and Toronto, I saw a lot of hype was there before he got hurt again.
Yeah, he had a good season.
Yeah, he did. I think
Drew Holiday could be a quality starter just because his counting stats aren't usually that good.
Yeah, I would say he was towards.
It's more of his impact.
Yeah.
Because his offensive production hasn't been that much greater than a guy like Marcus Smart.
Right.
But I think Drew Holiday's track record and maybe his ability to play make outweighs Marcus Smart's by a good little bit. So that's why I put him in the All-Star caliber player tier.
Yeah, almost. Drew, I was going to put quality starter. Like I said, the All-Star list probably took me the longest, I'd say. Because there's so many players that could be, and then former ones that could move down easily.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah, I think that's it. We didn't have any major differences or anything. Yeah.
Okay. So we've reached the point where I can ask this question. Do you only have 6 players left?
No, I got 7.
You have 7.
Which it was Chris Paul. We kind of talked about that one.
Okay.
I still got him to All NBA.
Yeah.
Like I said, maybe 1, maybe 2 years up.
So moving into tier 2, I have Kyrie Irving. I have Ja Morant. I have Trae Young, and I have Damian Lillard. Okay. So let's do a deep dive into this tier.
Right.
I think that this tier is pretty concrete. I think that these 4 players are cemented into this tier. The one that I had a little bit of trouble with putting on this tier, though, was Kyrie Irving. That's just because of his production. That's just because of the games played. When he's on the floor, he provides that production. And I also think Brooklyn will be a solid playoff team this year. So I think that he gets an All-NBA nod, even if it's a third-team nod. Ja Morant will be an All-NBA player as long as he plays the amount of games that he's supposed to, that we expect him to. His production will be there. Same with Trae Young. Damian Lillard. Let me speak on Damian Lillard for a minute. Dame had a season last year where he was 24, 7, and 5, the worst efficiency of his career, shot 40% from the field, shot 32 from 3. He's had 8+ months to rehab his abdominal injury that's been bothering him for the past 3-4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Damian Lillard will be an All-NBA second-team player next season. He will be. The Blazers might not be a top 6 seed in the West. I can recognize that as an honest Blazers fan. I'm not delusional. Guys. But Damian Lillard has a track record over the past 3-4 years that he's been semi-healthy. 28, 29 points, 8 assists, 4 or 5 rebounds, 46% from the field, and close to 40% from three. Almost single-handedly carrying a team to the playoffs, to a top 5 seed in the playoffs for the past 4 or 5 years. That's good enough for All-NBA second team, and in some years is good enough for All-NBA first team, which we've seen him make it one time in the past. I just wanted to say that because I've seen Dame not be on this All-NBA caliber tier for a lot of people. I just think that people haven't seen him play in so long that maybe they've forgotten. Maybe they've forgotten how great the guy is. Right. There's no bias involved with me even saying this. I just want to remind you who he is and why he belongs on this tier. Jacob, you can speak on whatever you want to speak on. I just wanted to say that real fast.
No, I agree with you. I still got him up there. I think he stopped playing after
his last game was New Year's Eve.
So he played about what?
He played like 25 games or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I think when healthy, even apparently not healthy, he could be all NBA in a year. Have you got him like that's your call, second team All NBA? Like you calling it now or?
Yeah. I'm gonna say All NBA second team just because the two guys that I have at tier 1 should be pretty locked in for All NBA first team, barring
I agree with that.
Any outside forces stepping in.
Okay.
Do you have any specific thoughts on any of these guys at tier 2? Why is Chris Paul in your tier 2 instead of tier 3?
It might be just his presence on the floor. Like in the playoffs, I know in the fourth quarter he stepped up. I just think any team he goes to, he makes them better. It doesn't matter where he goes. It could be the leadership, his IQ, whatever you can say. He won't pop off for 35, 40 points, like some of the other players, but might be the leadership and the playmaking. Because you've seen before, the Clippers, took them to playoffs before. I know they had other players. I think OKC was, when he went there, projected low, and I think he took them. Was it the playoffs?
They were projected to be the 14th seed season. They were the 5 seed.
Yeah, so it's just, I think whatever team he goes to, they just automatically, I'm not going to say playoff, well, you could say playoff level, but he boosts any team they go to. Like, if you send them, no, I'm not going to say that. I'll say you send them to Sacramento, but no.
I wouldn't wish that upon anybody.
Like I said, it's just his level. Like I said, he could be like the all-star level. But like I said, I think he's got one more good, like really good year in him to be like a top point guard. I'd say.
It's kind of like what we talked about with the Phoenix Suns in the Hot Takes episode, where if their team success isn't the same that it has been, maybe the individual accolades may suffer. Like this season where we saw them be the 1 seed, Devin Booker was first team All-NBA. And them being the 1 seed by a wide margin definitely played a part in that.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Paul's leadership that's unquestionable. He's one of the best leaders, if not the best leader in the NBA. He's a vet. He knows everything about the game. He's the smartest player on the floor, no matter who he steps on with. He is the brains of the operation. I just think maybe being the brains can only get you so far when it comes to individual accolades, though.
Yeah, I can see that. But I think, as a point guard, I'll say like as a Floyd Jr. It's kind of, I think that level of his, I still think it's all NBA level.
Okay.
It's so much you could like kind of explain, but I just think he's got one more year in him of all NBA.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah, my tier 2 is the same. I have Kyrie, Dame, Trae Young, Ja Morant, and Chris Paul.
Yeah, I think despite the Chris Paul disagreements, all those guys are pretty set in stone. They've been in
Yeah,
that territory for a while,
yeah.
and yeah, I think that's pretty concrete. Tier 1, we have 2 people here. I think if you're watching this, you can guess who these 2 are. We don't even have to really say it. It's Stephen Curry and Luka Doncic. We both have the same tier. I don't even have to ask you who you have here. Luka is probably going to be my preseason MVP. He probably will. I think his production is going to go up even from where it has been. I think that his playmaking production goes up. I think his scoring might be down a little bit with the addition of Christian Wood, but his playmaking will go up. His efficiency will continue to get better as he ages. There's a discourse that's been going around that has Luka Doncic already reached his peak. And I think when I first heard it, I wanted to kind of believe that just because he's not athletically gifted. There's only so much that he can do. And he already shoots the ball at a pretty high clip. I think his shot selection could definitely improve. And I think that ties in with efficiency. I think that's where he has the most room for improvement. And of course, on the defensive end. But that's kind of a given. I think that his shot selection isn't looked at enough. He takes a lot of mid-range jump shots. He takes a lot of contested mid-range jump shots. I think that he's easily the best when he's getting to the rim. And he can easily get to the rim, too. Just watching their series against the Suns, where he had Mikal Bridges, the guy who finished second in Defensive Player of the Year, bullying Mikal Bridges.
Yeah.
He bullied him on his way to the rim without a fight. He's going against guards and smaller wings most of the time because his moves aren't a big man can't keep up with everything that he's doing. So having those smaller guys on him, he has that advantage. And I would just like to see him use that advantage more. I think he should be leading the league in free throws every single season for like the next 5 years. I think that would ensure him as one of the best scorers and playmakers in the league, because not only can he score when he gets to the rim, he can drive and kick. And that's why the Mavericks have been so good shooting the corner three with guys like Dorian Finney-Smith and Maxi Kleber and Reggie Bullock. They've feasted off of Luka Doncic's drives and kicks.
Right, yeah. Like I said, the defense is the only downfall. We did see that in the playoffs against Phoenix. They would target him on the Phoenix had the ball offense. They target him on defense. Try to get the switch there. I don't think he's at his peak either. When I heard it, I thought it was crazy because, yeah, his numbers are already high and everything, but he could always improve if his defense, the shot IQ, basically what you said. So I think I don't have him as my MVP, like the front runner. He's top 3, but
Okay.
I have it. I got him at 2, but
yes, save that for a later episode.
Yeah. So, like you said, finishing at the rim, mid-range game. Yeah, I think the only downfall with him is the defense and some of the shot IQ and everything.
Right. Outside of that, he
Outside of that,
is so polished as a 23-year-old that it's unreal.
Right.
So, Luka's here and Stephen Curry is here. The counting stats for Stephen Curry are kind of they fluctuate. They can kind of fluctuate based off of the production of the team around him. So based off of that, I could see him maybe being a tier 2 guy next season. But based off of this past season with him winning Finals MVP and being so great in the finals, you got to put him tier 1. He's the best. He's the best point guard in the league. He's the best point guard in the league right now, pretty unanimously at the age of 34. And the way that he plays his game, although he may be aging, he doesn't look like he's slowing down. At least for the next 2-3 years, I don't expect Steph Curry to slow down. I expect him to still be taking the same amount of shots. I still expect him to be moving off the ball like he is, and doing all the great things that we love to see him do. But yeah, I just think that the counting stats and maybe the production would knock him down to maybe All-NBA second team. That's really it, though. That's really the only reason why.
For the All-NBA second team, I could see. I think it really just depends on how they finish. Like you said, everybody around them, I guess where they finish in the standings.
Right.
So
especially with the West kind of bolstering a little bit at the top with teams like the Clippers and the Nuggets, and
right.
teams like the Mavericks and the Grizzlies who have flirted around there too.
Yeah, I think whenever we do the standings, that'll be pretty interesting to see what we have to
Yeah,
say.
definitely.
I've been thinking about that a lot lately, especially looking at certain guards and everything. But yeah, my reason's the same. How he plays, he don't put a lot of like. I know he had an injury before, but
That was a freak
yeah,
hand injury.
yeah, like but he don't put like a lot of wear and tear on his legs or anything.
Yeah.
So
He hasn't really had any ankle issues since early in his career. Thank
right,
goodness.
right. So I think he's still got 2-3 years being a top two, top three guard.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I still got two.
Definitely locked in at tier 1 for the time being. Of course, all of this is subject to change going into next season, but based off last season, these are the tiers. I was kind of upset that we didn't disagree on a little more.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
like I
going
said,
throughout the positions, we will. Um, I expect some of these to be more top heavy than the point guards were. The point guard tier is pretty close. You can put a guy who maybe fall as an average starter. You may think he's an all-star caliber player because point guards are so skilled in the game today. They have to most of them have to be able to shoot, and if you can't really shoot that well, you have to be able to play make something serious or defend or do something. Like a guy like Marcus Smart. You may consider a guy like Marcus Smart as an all-star caliber player based off his transcendent defense, or you may consider him just an average starter because he turns the ball over a lot, and he's inconsistent as an offensive player. Um,
yeah,
it's always tough to rank, but it's always fun to rank.
it
I think
is.
that's why it's so fun because it's tough.
Yeah, I do hope we agree more next time. I mean, disagree more next time. Um, we had a few, but we both kind of could agree or disagree on them.
Yeah.
I think the point guard, like you said, is just so many you can work with. Now I know the next ranking we probably will have some. I think.
Yeah. Shooting guards will be next week. Be on the lookout for that. Um, but that's it for now. I guess we'll sign off. Jacob, you got anything you want to close with?
No, that's all I got. Thank y'all for the likes, new subscribers. Keep sharing the channel. We really
Yep.
appreciate it. That's all I got.
Thank you all, as always. Ball Oasis signing out. Peace out, everybody.
Yeah.